Hi, this is Zach Meir with the Bulletin Board Heroes here at Zach's Traders Cafe for Friday, the 8th of September. Starting off with the FTSE 100, which has got stuck at and below the 50-day moving average there, around 74.80. Below that, an end-of-day close back below 7400. That old July support area could take us down to 73.30, which was support on the way up, let's say, from last month, and then 72.20. With the main support for this market since November. The overall progression here within a falling trend channel from back in February, and an end-of-day close above the 50-day line would be the trigger for a move up towards 76.50 and a potential move higher, but at the moment looks like we are facing the other way. Moving along to the DAX, and here it's all about trying to hold that line there from December, which so far not looking that good. 15,600, the support line there. Below that, there's a 200-day moving average at 15,400, which I suppose now has to be considered as a potential place that this market may fall down to, especially with recession fears, etc., etc. Otherwise, early and end-of-day close back above the 50-day line, 15,900, gets the DAX out of jail and would then hopefully give us a retest of 16,500 resistance from July later in the autumn. Moving along to the Dow, which is also looking rather poorly at the moment. The reason for saying that is the way that we are struggling below the 50-day moving average, 34,700, but at least we're holding above that October uptrend line, 34,200, and while we're above that, we've got the chance of breaking 35 and heading to 35 and a half. RSI in the mid-40s, so maybe in this case, say that out of the FTSE, the DAX in this market, this one is looking the healthiest, although there's not much competition at the moment. Below the uptrend line from October risks the 200-day moving average there, 33,800. Moving on to Bitcoin, which has been not in a good way over the recent past. At least we are trying to hold that line of support from back in January at 25,800. Above that, one would be logically looking towards the 200-day moving average at 27,600, but we're not really in a good mood in terms of looking on the bright side here. There is, I suppose, bullish divergence there, so that is composed of the lower lows for September, but higher RSI trace, so maybe that is giving some hope that we will at least retest that 200-day line over the next week or so. Moving on to the stocks, and quite surprised that after the very good news in terms of funding for Atlantic Lithium, the shares aren't up more than they are, but obviously 20%, nothing to be sniffed at after all the pain and misery that the shares have had over the past year. We have an unfilled gap to the upside through the 50-day moving average at 22 pence, and above that looking for the 200-day moving average at 31 pence, or 32 pence, I suppose, by the end of next month, and maybe a bit sooner. The key here is holding above 22 pence, and that would then hopefully give us a pathway to the low 30s over the near term. Moving along to Angle, which is maybe against the odds recovering. A nice base there with the bullish divergence, broke a falling wedge there at 12 pence and broke the 50-day moving average yesterday, which is now rising with all the things we like. Above the 50-day line at 13 pence, we were looking for 18 pence. I think we could probably upgrade that now a bit, and maybe be looking for as high as 22 pence over the next 4 to 6 weeks, or hopefully a bit sooner. If we're lucky, we might get there to 22 by the end of this month. Moving on to ARC Minerals. Interesting push towards or through the 200-day moving average, which is now rising. Ideally, we stay above that at 3.3 pence. Even if we're above the August resistance at 3.2 pence, one would be looking for 4 pence by the end of this month, and maybe 4.8 pence by the end of next month. But the key here really is holding about 3.2 and enjoying the way the 50-day line, currently at 2.7 pence, is rising well now. A stock which looked to be a recovery situation has come up with the goods as well, a bit like Angle, I suppose, Ethereum. Here we had an unfilled gap to the upside, bear trap gap reversal, which is what we like. Support then came in at and above the top of that gap back in August, so that was very healthy. And then we broke a resistance line in the 50-day moving average at 13.25. Initial target here was 18, or let's call it 19 pence, so we're not far away from that. End of day close above 19. We could be looking at 28 pence by the end of next month. So we'd like to see the shares remain above the 15 pence area, which was resistance on the way down. Now on to AMTE. We had to check all the share prices and the right levels in terms of the fundraise. Here, an interesting position in the sense that it's a charting nightmare, but apart from that, we've had lower lows obviously for September, but the RSI actually higher than it was back in June, so that suggests some bullish divergence, and that does suggest that, I suppose, while we're above today's 1.75 pence low, we could actually head up to the old July low at 3.5 pence. So let's see if that rather rickety charting works over the near term. But above 1.75, looking for 3.5 there on AMTE for people who like catching falling knives, and also not for widows and orphans. On to Corcel, and here the shares have done what we were hoping that they would do, which was break that resistance line there from back in April. That was and is the top of a falling wedge from that time, and that suggests that we're looking for a reasonable upside here, probably up to the line I'm about to draw, which is from back in November last year, so heading for 0.48, perhaps as soon as the end of next month, maybe if we're lucky by the end of this month, so quite a decent turnaround there. Bit of bullish divergence there as well, so had a low there right at the end of last month, but higher RSI trace, so that is another tick for the technicals on Corcel. On to Golden Metal, where I interviewed the company earlier this week. Also, the first time I think I've charted the stock since it came to market. May not be, but I think it is. Well, I haven't charted it very much. We've got potential here for a rising trend channel from the start of play for Golden Metal back in May. And the view now is that the longer we stay above initial resistance around 9 pence, the greater the chance we move to 13 pence, maybe by the end of this month. So let's see if GMET comes up with the goods. So requested stock now is Greatland Gold, which I have to say, I'm not quite sure whether the message has been getting across in terms of what the company's doing, but at least on the charting front, bit of a rug pull there from below June support, 6.3 pence. We'd like to see a weekly close back above that. So we have a bear trap reversal, and above 6.37, we're looking for up to 7.6 pence, hopefully by the end of this month. So let's, as I said, let's see if that rug pull actually delivers a bit of upside from current lowly levels. Moving on to Power Metal, which had a good update today, very enthusiastic update. Unfilled gap to the upside off the low, and through the 50-day moving average at 0.71. That means above the 50-day line, we're looking for a May resistance line there at 0.92, hopefully by the end of this month, and then maybe by the end of next month up to 1.3 pence at that March resistance line projection. Been decent activity in Pantheon over the recent past, and here things shaping up perhaps for a new leg to the upside. This could be a V-shaped bull flag. Obviously we had the unfilled gap to the upside last week, and that was a very good signal for recovery. Probably looking for the 19 pence area to hold, and then up to 32 pence on the next leg, maybe by the end of next month. If we're lucky by the end of this month. If you're cautious, I suppose you just wait for an end of day close through 25 pence, the recent peak, before deciding the stock is going to deliver a fresh leg to the upside. Speaking of fresh legs to the upside, we've had decent upside here at Pensana, direct to buying, which has really helped the cause. I think that was in the high teens, and unfilled gap to the upside yesterday. The initial target, well, the initial trajectory was to break 25 pence and then head up to 36 pence, and we're not too far away from that now. Hopefully we'll get to there by the end of this month, or even sooner. An upside rounded while we're above 29 pence, which was basically the former resistance back in June and also the start of September. On to the last three. First one is Rockfire, and here you can see that we've got a pretty straightforward rising trend channel that's been in place since October, since the lows, and we have seen the shares behave themselves all the way along. We're looking forward to the low 30s, which we got. Pullback has been above the rising 50-day line, 200-day line rather, at 0.26, and above that looking for 0.4 pence, perhaps by the end of this month. A nice weekly close above the 50-day line there at 0.31. Hopefully would add to the momentum. Also adding to the momentum is the low for September, but higher RSI trade, so there is bullish divergence there. Hence, we're relatively confident that we're going to hit 0.4. Simec is next, and here you can see that after the sideways shuffle above a rising 50-day moving average, we've spiked up, just now resting on the 200-day moving average, or near the 200-day moving average at 1.2 pence, and a particular close above 1.2. We could be heading up to 1.6 pence by the end of this month, but need to stay above a penny, whatever happens. Finishing off with Sylvania, in fact. Here we've had a nice break of the 50-day moving average there at 70 pence. Above that, looking for the 200-day line at 88 pence by the end of this month, or even sooner. That's the top of a rising, or rather a broadening triangle from back in June. That's it for me today. More updates over the weekend.